directly to the killer, who may be in this room. We believe you are hiding in plain sight. For more than 2 years, you never thought we would shift gears to a different investigative strategy, but we have. We likely have interviewed you or someone close to you. We know that this is about power to you, and you want to know what we know. And one day, you will.
What's up, Mob Crew? I'm Chris and welcome. Today's video, I'm breaking down some of the most shocking revelations in the Frank's motion, which was released in regards to the Delphi case. This motion, which was released by the defense, reveals a lot of new information never heard before, including accusing 5 new individuals of being responsible of this horrendous crime. We will be covering that and so much more in today's video. Welcome back to the channel, everybody, where we cover true crime, mystery to the missing. The defense team for Richard Allen recently released what's called a Frank's motion. A Frank's motion is something that challenges the validity of a search and or arrest warrant for the defendant. This motion not only challenges the prosecution's allegations, but introduces an entirely new narrative with 5 new suspects and releases major new details about the crime scene and so much more. Part 1. 5 new suspects. According to the defense team, Richard Allen is innocent, and they claim a group of 5 men known as Odinists are responsible for taking the lives of Abby and Libby as a ritual sacrifice. The 5 men, Holder, Westfall, Messer, Fields, and Abrams, were all or at one time part of a religious group who worship Norse gods like Odin. Odinism is what Vikings believed in. The defense also claims that this group has connections to people that work in the corrections department, like the prison where Richard Allen is being held at, and that this group is supposedly using Allen as their patsy. The defense claims Richard Allen was forced by this group to confess to his wife, or there would have been consequences. So what is the connection between this group and Abby and Libby? Part 2. The crime scene. This new motion definitely released some shocking new details that only had been rumored about before on the internet. We've always heard that this crime scene was odd and bizarre in nature, but I must say, trigger warning, as I am only going to summarize what was detailed in this motion about the crime scene. According to this motion, the defense literally starts out with "this was a ghoulish scene." In summary, it says that Libby was found completely naked, lying on her back, her head positioned close to a tree. Her arms were both positioned in different ways. They also claim that where Libby's final resting spot was not actually where she was attacked because there was very little blood on her body. She had tree branches and sticks placed on top of her body. Now this is where it begins to connect the crime scene to this Odinist group. They say that the way that the branches were laid on top of poor Libby had made a V-shaped symbol using sticks and branches. They also claim that these tree branches were cleanly cut, which meant that there was something used like some kind of electrical saw. Where it gets even more bizarre is how Abby was supposedly placed. According to the motion, Abby was also laying on her back near Libby, but a few feet away, not quite parallel to Libby. Abby was actually wearing all of Libby's clothes, according to the defense. This was one of the more bizarre statements, since it would seem to be difficult to derobe one victim and then put the clothes on another. Abby supposedly had little to no blood on her, unlike Abby, which according to the defense, both victims were naked when they were attacked. Just like Libby, Abby was also positioned in a unique way with her arms and legs. Abby also had tree branches and twigs placed on top of her. The defense claims that these branches made like an asterisk type shape on top of Abby. They also say that small twigs were placed above Abby's head to make it look like horns or antlers. This would be more proof, according to the defense, that this was done by this Odinist group. One of Libby's shoes and Libby's phone were laying under Abby's body. The unspent bullet was supposedly in the ground between the two girls, where the defense claims this bullet wasn't properly photographed. Then, just when the crime scene couldn't get any more bizarre, the motion brings up that there was a tree nearby, possibly where one of the victims were attacked, where 4 feet from the base of the tree, there was an F symbol painted onto the tree. DNA tests claim that this was painted on using the blood of Libby's. This was truly shocking. According to the defense, this was the Nordic rune and Zeus, which symbols look similar to the letter F, but slightly different. This symbol has many meanings, like creative solution to a problem, as well as the symbol for Odin. It also stands for mouth, breathe, persuasion, and communication. This would also be another argument towards the defense connection to this Odinist group. Part 3. Witnesses and the sketches. I think many can agree that the 2 sketches that were released was an absolute mess, and in my opinion they look really nothing alike, as well for the fact that they both are aged so differently. One has facial hair, the other one doesn't. Did this guy shave and find the fountain of youth in between the 2 witnesses? So there has been much speculation as to which witnesses were responsible for the 2 sketches. This motion finally addresses how and when they were created. According to the defense, the muddy and bloody witness known as Sarah, who saw a man walking west down Crunchy Road, would be responsible for the first sketch to be released. But according to the defense, they claim this witness never saw a man muddy and bloody, but just muddy. They also claim that she did not see a blue jacket, but a tan jacket. Keep in mind, this is coming from the defense, who has their own agenda completely opposite of the prosecution, and could be twisting the words of the witness. The motion also says that another witness named Betsy, who is the one who pulled up to the Mears parking lot, which was around the same time as Abby and Libby, but Betsy would exit her car first and walk towards the bridge. When arriving to the bridge, she saw a man standing on the bridge, after which she started walking back where she would cross paths with Abby and Libby, who were walking towards the bridge, while Betsy would walk back to her car. According to the defense, after the first sketch had been released and had been out there for a while, Betsy was apparently unhappy because she also had a sketch made of the man on the bridge. The defense claims she was unhappy about the first sketch and felt like it did not look anything like the man she saw. Betsy's sketch was actually created first, but because the other sketch much more resembled the man in the video, they held back on Betsy's sketch. She apparently went to Tony Liggett to voice her frustration, and nearly 2 years later, after the homicides, they released the second sketch, which was the sketch by what Betsy had claimed to see. According to the motion, Betsy described a slender, youthful-looking man in his early 20s or 30s. He had brown curly hair, which was described as poofy, and she believes that he had no facial hair. Beyond that, the defense is also claiming that this witness, Betsy, did not see a black or dark smaller car parked at the old CPS building, but more like a 1965 Ford Comet, and that she couldn't remember the color but was sure it was not black, whereas Richard Allen drove the black Ford Focus. Part 4. Tony Liggett. So of course the defense's job is to poke at any holes into the prosecution's claims as well as to the law enforcement that were involved. The defense claims that Tony Liggett made many errors in witness statements, as well as claiming he fabricated a lot of things, including Richard Allen's statement of what time he was actually there. According to this motion, they claim that Richard Allen actually said he got there at noon and left at 1:30 p.m. unlike the original timeline of 1:30 and leaving at 3:30. They also claim Tony falsified statements and lied to the judge in getting a proper search and arrest warrant for Richard Allen. The defense also claims that other authorities involved in this case overlooked possible suspects that could have been responsible for this horrendous crime, most notably this group of Odinists. The defense claims there is substantial evidence to believe that this group of 5 men were not only responsible for the crime, but also have ties with people who are working in the correctional facilities that house Richard Allen. Part 5. Odinist Connections. The defense claims that this group of 5 men were responsible for the terrible crime. They claim this was done as a ritual sacrifice. As far as actual evidence putting this group of 5 men are little to none. There is no claim of DNA, no cell phone pings, no physical evidence that we know of that directly connects any of these individuals. The main connections to this group and Abby and Libby are that a guy named Holder has a son who supposedly dated Abby, but there's not much else mentioned about this relationship. I guess you could say the biggest connections or coincidences, depending on the side you stand, is apparently after the homicides, there was Facebook posts by Holder and possibly others that supposedly showed images that portrayed the crime scene in some fashion or another. The defense claims that these religious overtones at the crime scene would suggest there is a connection to this Odinism. Also in the motion, they bring up the fact that the 5 individuals' alibis are allegedly not solid and, according to the defense, have many holes. But the motion does not actually go into who did what as far as these 5 individuals, such as how they got there, who drove what, who participated in the crime, and how they escaped. The defense also mentions, after this horrendous crime, that some of these men supposedly made confessions, either to a family member or others, but they are pretty vague. Part 6. Conclusion. After reading this motion, I'm sure like many others, they were quite shocked at some of the details released, and it definitely adds a lot more questions, especially regarding the crime scene. If all of this was true regarding how the victims were staged and posed, it does bring up the question on how one person could do all of this. I do need to remind people that this is the defense's job to cast doubt and make the public and jurors look a different direction other than their own client Richard Allen. Keep in mind that they now brought to light the names of 5 men who most likely all have families, and if they are innocent, are already having their lives torn apart as we speak, being accused of some absolutely terrible things. Although I agree that there are many things that don't add up in this case, we all should remember that there is plenty of evidence that the public is not aware of and won't be until the actual trial starts. Well, that does it for today's video. I really hope you got some good info from today's video. Please share your thoughts in the comments down below. Please be respectful to your fellow commentators. Please smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.